super nervous about speaking, so originally I wrote myself down as no testimony, but I've been here all night and I've heard a lot of things, and I just have a few things that I have to say. But fortunately, because I'm nervous, I speak really quickly. So the three things I want to say, first of all, a lot of people have talked about some of the dangers of abortion. First of all, like during the procedure itself, if you can die, and also someone mentioned like lifelong things, like having to have a co-op when you die. Nobody talked, there are a lot of doctors here, but none of them talked about the dangers of childbirth. If you look at the proportion of women who die during a safe and legal abortion versus the proportion of women who die in childbirth, there's no comparison. And also, like, there's so many different ways that you can die during childbirth or have lifelong complications. You can like lose control of your bladder and never be able to have control of your bladder again for the rest of your life because of childbirth. I mean, there's so many things. Luckily for everyone in the room, I'm not a doctor, because if you ask me to list all the ways that childbirth can either harm you in the moment or harm you for the future, I could literally be here until 5 a.m. listing all of those things. So just as a point of, like, I know that a lot of people have their opinions, but if your one concern is like the danger, quote unquote, of abortion and the long-term medical risks, just remember that the dangers of childbirth and the long-term medical risks of childbirth are humongous and dwarf everything else. The second thing is there's a doctor whose name was like Nancy Sabata or something like that, and she was saying that the best way to prevent abortions is through contraception. I totally agree. That's really the best, you know, if you're going to have free and easy contraception, then that's going to reduce abortions the most. The second most thing, and I'll say this as a high school teacher, is comprehensive sex education. I'll just tell a quick story. I heard they had just graduated high school girls talking, and one said, oh, if you drink orange juice before you have sex, that will prevent you from getting pregnant. And the other one said, don't be stupid. Everyone knows it doesn't prevent you from getting pregnant, but it does greatly reduce the risk. So when we send children into the world who think that drinking orange juice is going to reduce your risk of pregnancy, then you end up with unwanted pregnancies, and then you end up with abortions. So what I would say is all of these people who are so passionate about reducing abortions in America, if they really cared about reducing abortions, they would be lining up out the door to testify for free and easy contraception and for comprehensive sex education. And we don't see them doing that because they don't really care so much about reducing abortions. They care about punishing women for sex. And if you don't give people sex education and you don't give them contraception and then you don't let them have abortions, then you're just punishing people for having sex. You're not really trying to accomplish anything positive. It's just all about punishing and taking away their options. The third thing that I wanted to say is I've started to come to the State House a lot. This is my third hearing that I've been to in 3 weeks. And I have started to realize that there's a lot of bills that come up every year. You've probably heard all of these things like 6 or 7 times, the same testimony, maybe even the same people. Most bills don't go anywhere, and then they just come back the next year, and they don't go anywhere, and they come back the next year. I imagine that most of the bills we're hearing tonight are going to be in that category. That's just the way the world works. I do think that the world outside the State House has changed a little bit, and people are much more, I mean, like I'm here, I really could not have cared less about local politics, and I've been here now until 11 o'clock 3 times. So there's a lot of people like me who are paying more attention now, and I don't think that you're going to be able to get away with not passing bills as much as has happened in the past, because I think people are going to expect more. That being said, I want to say a really safe bet, if you just want to get some brownie points without being controversial, that people haven't talked as much about is 5830. Here's the thing about 5830. It's been ruled unconstitutional since 1984. It increases rights and equality. It doesn't really increase abortions. So if you pass that one, you're going to get brownie points from the people who want to have like more women, like fairness for women's rights, but you're not going to get as much anger from the abortion people because it's not really increasing abortion, right? It doesn't actually say anything about the abortions themselves. It just talks about the notification ahead of time. So I just really want to say, if you want to make your constituents feel like you're passing stuff and getting stuff done, but you don't want to be super controversial, totally do this 5830, because that's a great way to like accomplish something without making people angry as much as some of these other bills. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. See, that's nothing to me.